Hello, knowledge seekers of the world. Welcome back to Old News. Today, we're turning our time machine to 1956. Here we go. Starting with global politics was the Suez Crisis. Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser nationalized the Suez Canal, previously controlled by British and French interests. In response, Britain, France, and Israel launched a joint military operation to regain control of the canal and remove Nasser. However, intense international pressure, particularly from the United States under President Dwight D. Eisenhower and the Soviet Union, forced the aggressors to withdraw. This event marked the decline of Britain and France as global powers and solidified Nasser's role as a symbol of Arab nationalism. And the Hungarian Revolution broke out in October, demanding political freedom and the end of Soviet control. Initially, it seemed as though the Soviets would withdraw, but they soon returned with overwhelming military force, crushing the rebellion by early November. Thousands were killed, and over 200,000 Hungarians fled the country. While the West offered little direct intervention, Radio Free Europe broadcasted moral support for the Hungarian fighters, highlighting Cold War tensions. In the US, the interstate highway system was established in '56 with the passage of the Federal Aid Highway Act. Inspired by Germany's Autobahn and recognizing the need for a modern, high-speed road network, Eisenhower championed the project as essential for national defense, economic growth, and safer travel. The act authorized $25 billion to construct 41,000 miles of highways over 13 years, making it the largest public works project in U.S. history at the time. The system transformed American transportation by reducing travel times, boosting commerce, and fueling suburban expansion, while also displacing communities and altering city landscapes. Eisenhower also extended his presidency, winning re-election in a landslide, defeating Democratic challenger Adlai E. Stevenson II, with 41 of 48 states, 86% of the electoral vote, and 57% of the popular vote. The election also marked the first time a Republican presidential candidate carried Louisiana since 1876. Eisenhower's victory was bolstered by a strong post-war economy and his leadership during the Korean War. There were concerns over his health, following a heart attack in 1955 and intestinal surgery in June of '56, but he recovered well, which quelled speculation about his candidacy. Despite Eisenhower's presidential win, Democrats maintained control of Congress. Also in 1956, Jim Jones founded the People's Temple Full Gospel Church in Indianapolis. At just 25 years old, Jones was a charismatic preacher, blending Pentecostal-style sermons with progressive messages of racial integration, economic justice, and faith healing. At a time when segregation still dominated much of American life, Jones stood out. He actively recruited both black and white congregants, adopted children of multiple races, calling his family a rainbow family, and opened his home to those in need. His sermons fused Christianity and communist ideals, and he gained national attention for dramatic faith healings, some of which were staged using planted actors to build credibility. Jones aligned the church with the disciples of Christ to gain legitimacy, and his congregation grew. He also joined the Indianapolis Human Rights Commission, advocating for civil rights and fair housing, and helped desegregate hospitals, restaurants, and theaters. While publicly promoting equality and service, Jones began exerting increasing control over his followers, encouraging total loyalty, financial donations, and obedience. By the mid-1960s, Jones became increasingly paranoid about nuclear war and relocated the temple to Ukiah, a small city in Northern California. In the 1970s, as scrutiny increased, the church expanded to San Francisco and Los Angeles, amassing thousands of followers and political clout. Jones positioned himself as a savior-like figure, controlling every aspect of his members' lives. In 1977, facing growing media investigations and defectors' allegations of abuse, he moved over 1,000 followers to a remote jungle settlement he called Jonestown in Guyana, South America. It was promoted as a socialist paradise, but became an isolated, authoritarian compound. On November 18, 1978, after U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan visited Jonestown and was murdered while trying to leave, Jones ordered a mass murder-suicide. Over 900 people died, including 304 children, in what remains one of the largest losses of American civilian life outside of war or natural disaster. It all began quietly in Indiana in the 50s, but by the end, it was a global tragedy born of control, fear, and blind devotion. On the technology front, IBM introduced the first commercial hard disk drive, the 305 RAMAC, which had a storage capacity of just 5 megabytes and weighed over a ton, an enormous leap forward in data storage at the time. While it wasn't practical for most users, it paved the way for the future of data management. 1956 was also the year that Swiss engineer Georges de Mestral patented the Velcro fastening system, inspired by burrs clinging to his dog's fur. In entertainment, Elvis Presley burst onto the national scene. His television performances, especially on The Ed Sullivan Show, were electric, captivating teenage audiences while sparking controversy over his provocative dance moves. Hits like Heartbreak Hotel, Hound Dog, and Don't Be Cruel topped the charts, transforming Elvis into a cultural icon. He also made his debut into acting with the premiere of Love Me Tender, blending his music with Hollywood charm. Cecil B. DeMille's epic The Ten Commandments debuted to critical acclaim and became one of the highest-grossing films of the decade. Featuring Charlton Heston as Moses, the film dazzled audiences with its grand scale and special effects. Another hit film, Around the World in 80 Days, won the Academy Award for Best Picture. Television saw the introduction of The Price is Right, which quickly became one of the most popular game shows on air. Hosted by Bill Cullen, it would evolve into a beloved American TV institution. In literature, Peyton Place, a scandalous novel about small-town secrets by Grace Metalius, became a bestseller. It broke taboos and paved the way for more provocative storytelling in both literature and television. In sports, Mickey Mantle had one of the best seasons in baseball history, guiding the New York Yankees to victory in the World Series. Mantle won the Triple Crown, leading the league in batting average, home runs, and RBIs. The 1956 Summer Olympics were held in Melbourne, Australia, marking the first time the Games were hosted in the Southern Hemisphere. One of the standout athletes was Althea Gibson, who became the first African-American woman to compete in Olympic-level tennis. She went on to win 2 Olympic medals, 1 gold in the women's doubles, and 1 silver in singles. Althea would later make history by becoming the first African-American to win the Wimbledon singles title in '57, breaking racial barriers and paving the way for greater inclusivity in tennis. That's all for 1956, folks. Thanks for tuning in to Old News, a year in review. In the words of Winston Churchill, those that fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Stay curious, and we'll see you next time.